Okay, picture this. It's 1993, and three engineers are sitting around a booth at a Denny's diner. They don't have some flashy Silicon Valley office, and honestly, they don't even have a massive world-changing master plan. What Jensen Huang, Chris Malachowski, and Curtis Preem did have was just a dream to give video games better graphics. But let's fast forward to today. That exact same scrappy startup from a diner booth has rocketed to become the most valuable company in the entire world. A company that used to just make graphics cards for gamers is now the absolute undeniable backbone of the AI revolution, powering literally everything from ChatGPT to self-driving cars.
So you gotta wonder, how on earth did a company that built its entire reputation on rendering pixels for video games become the trillion-dollar engine driving the future of artificial intelligence? I mean, how do you go from a Denny's diner to absolutely dominating the tech world? Well, it all comes down to the ultimate visionary's bet, and that's exactly what we're gonna unpack in today's explainer.
Here is our roadmap. We're going to cover the GPU origin, the unpopular bet, the deep learning boom, the data center pivot, the unbeatable moat, and finally, future threats. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the GPU origin, from Denny's to graphics. So, back in the early 90s, Jensen Huang realized personal computers had a really major flaw. They were fantastic at processing text in numbers sequentially, one after the other, but they struggled massively with 3D images. So the founding team had this simple but completely revolutionary idea. Why not build a dedicated chip just for processing graphics? Fast forward to 1999, they launched the GeForce 256. And what's really wild here is that NVIDIA literally coined the term GPU, or Graphics Processing Unit. Today, that's just the industry standard. The gaming industry was absolutely exploding at the time, and NVIDIA perfectly captured that demand, totally crushing early competitors like 3DFX and essentially pushing them right out of the market.
Moving right along to Section 2, the unpopular bet, the 2006 CUDA gamble.
By the 2000s, NVIDIA was the undisputed king of gaming. But Jensen knew that relying only on video games was, frankly, just too risky for the long term. He knew the underlying architecture of a GPU, which can do thousands of tiny calculations all at the exact same time, could be used for way more than just rendering digital explosions. So in 2006, NVIDIA launched CUDA. This was a software platform that let developers use that parallel processing power for general-purpose computing. But here's the thing. Wall Street absolutely hated it. I mean, investors thought Jensen had lost his mind pouring billions into a tech that basically had zero immediate use cases. For years, CUDA was viewed as just this massive bleeding cost center. But Jensen was completely obsessed with the idea that one day, parallel computing would change everything.
And actually, his bet made perfect sense on a fundamental technical level. If you think about it, rendering 3D graphics for a video game requires processing thousands of pixels simultaneously. Well, it turns out artificial intelligence requires the exact same thing, massive parallel matrix calculations. So the identical architecture you need to make video games look incredibly realistic was secretly the absolute perfect engine for complex math and neural networks. It's kind of like discovering your sports car is also capable of flying.
Which brings us to Section 3, the deep learning boom, the 2012 breakthrough.
2. That is the exact number of NVIDIA gaming GPUs it took to completely change the world. In 2012, researchers from the University of Toronto built a neural network called AlexNet for a major image recognition competition. They trained their entire model using just 2 off-the-shelf NVIDIA GeForce GTX 580 gaming graphics cards. The result? No contest. AlexNet shattered every single previous record. It won by such a massive, ridiculous margin that the entire AI research community was just stunned. Overnight, everyone realized GPUs were the holy grail for deep learning. Suddenly, every university and tech company in the world needed NVIDIA chips. That useless CUDA bet from 2006? Yeah, it instantly transformed into their greatest weapon.
Section 4, the data center pivot, arming the AI revolution. Once that deep learning boom hit, NVIDIA didn't just sit back and celebrate. They aggressively rewired the entire company to focus on data centers. They launched Tesla GPUs for AI training, NVLinks so the GPUs could talk to each other instantly, and DGX systems, which were basically AI supercomputers in a box. In 2016, Jensen personally delivered the very first DGX-1 supercomputer to this little startup called OpenAI. Nobody really knew what that would lead to back then. But then, November 2022 happens. ChatGPT launches, and boom, an absolute AI gold rush. Every major company suddenly needed insane amounts of computing power, and the only place to get it was NVIDIA's H100 chips. Demand went through the roof, and as a direct result, by 2023, NVIDIA crossed the $1 trillion market cap, officially becoming the most valuable company on the planet.
Now for Section 5, the unbeating moat. Why competitors struggle.
With all this money on the table, you have to ask, why can't other tech giants just beat them? Well, there are three huge reasons. First, the CUDA ecosystem. We're talking years of developers being trained almost exclusively on CUDA. Trying to switch to a competitor's software now would be incredibly painful and costly. Second, NVIDIA's full-stack approach. They don't just hand you a chip. They give you the hardware, the software, the networking, the whole shebang. And third, the sheer speed of innovation. They are relentlessly dropping new, exponentially faster chips every single year, while competitors are taking years just to play catch-up.
And finally, Section 6, future threats. Can the empire survive?
Look, in the tech world, nobody is safe forever. Even with an 80% market share, NVIDIA is currently fighting a massive multi-front war. They've got direct rivals like AMD aggressively pushing their MI300 series. On top of that, their biggest clients, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, are busy building their own in-house custom chips so they don't have to rely on NVIDIA as much. Throw in strict US export limits to China and a massive reliance on Taiwan's TSMC for their supply chain. And yeah, the pressure is absolutely immense. But NVIDIA's strategy to survive all this? Never stand still. They aren't just coasting on AI chatbots. They are aggressively pushing into entirely new frontiers. We're talking robotics, brains for autonomous vehicles, building digital twins in their Omniverse platform for massive industrial simulations, and they're even heavily investing in quantum computing. They are literally laying the groundwork to power the next 5 technological revolutions, not just this one.
And the mindset driving all of this relentless innovation? It's perfectly captured by a quote from Jensen Huang himself. He said, "We think we are going to go bankrupt every day." Let that sink in. That intense paranoia, this absolute fear of getting too comfortable is NVIDIA's real secret sauce. It's exactly what kept them investing in CUDA when Wall Street laughed at them, and it's what keeps them reinventing the wheel today.
So there you have it, from a Denny's diner booth building graphics cards for gamers to the absolute bedrock of the AI era. It wasn't an accident. It was a decade-long visionary bet that proves long-term patience almost always beats short-term criticism. Seeing how incredibly fast this space is moving right now, what do you think NVIDIA's next big move is going to be? Definitely something to think about as you watch this tech shape our reality. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and we'll see you in the next one.